The wind howled, sand swept across the barren landscape, the setting sun cast long, eerie shadows. This was no place for the faint of heart.
Sounding weary and determined, I need to find shelter, fast.
A young boy, Ethan, wandered through this wasteland. He was lost and alone. The only sound was the wind whispering secrets to the dunes. Ethan shivered, pulling his thin jacket tighter. His eyes scanned the horizon, desperately searching. There. A silhouette emerged from the swirling sand, barely visible through the thick fog that enveloped the landscape. It moved slowly, almost cautiously, as if unsure of its surroundings. A house, old and dilapidated, stood in the distance. Its once vibrant paint now peeled and faded, windows shattered and the roof sagging under years of neglect. Hope surged through Ethan as he spotted it, a glimmer of refuge in the desolate expanse.
With a mix of relief and apprehension. Finally, a place to rest. But what secrets did this old house hold? He couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that gnawed at him.
Cautiously, Ethan approached the house, each step crunching on the dry, brittle grass. The closer he got, the more he could see the details of its decay. The front door hung slightly ajar, inviting yet foreboding. The porch creaked ominously under his weight, the sound echoing in the stillness. It felt as if the house was alive, groaning in protest at his intrusion. He tested the doorknob, unlocked. The door swung open with a loud creak, revealing the dark interior. He hesitated for a moment, then stepped inside. Dust swirled as he stepped inside. The air was thick with the smell of decay, a mix of mold and old wood. The floorboards creaked under his feet, and cobwebs hung like curtains in the corners. Yet there was something else, something strange. A faint hum vibrated in the air, almost imperceptible but persistent. It seemed to come from deep within the house, beckoning him to explore further. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. He cautiously moved towards the source of the sound, each step filled with trepidation. What could be making that noise? Was it a person, an animal, or something else entirely? The mystery deepened with every step he took. In the center of the main room, on a dusty table, sat a device. It was covered in a thin layer of dust, as if it had been there for ages, untouched and forgotten. The room itself was dimly lit, with only a single beam of light filtering through a crack in the ceiling, casting an eerie glow on the object. It was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Metallic, spherical, with glowing symbols etched on its surface. The symbols seemed to shift and change, almost as if they were alive. Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and trepidation as he gazed at the device.
Curious and cautious. What is this thing? Ethan's voice trembled slightly as he spoke, the words barely a whisper. He had never encountered anything like this before, and the unknown nature of the device filled him with a mix of curiosity and fear.
The humming was coming from this device. It was a low, steady hum, almost like a heartbeat, and it seemed to resonate through the entire room. The sound was both soothing and unsettling, drawing Ethan closer to the device. It pulsed with an otherworldly light. The glow was not constant. It ebbed and flowed like the tide, casting strange shadows on the walls. The symbols on the device seemed to dance in the light, creating an almost hypnotic effect. Ethan felt drawn to it. Tentatively, Ethan reached out and touched the device. His fingers brushed against the cool metallic surface, and he felt a strange sensation, like a mild electric current running through his hand. A jolt of energy surged through him. He gasped and drew back his hand. The shock was not painful, but it was enough to startle him. He stared at the device, his mind racing with questions. What was this thing? Where had it come from? And why did it feel so alive? The symbols on the device began to spin. The humming grew louder, transforming into a high-pitched whine. The sound was almost unbearable, and Ethan had to cover his ears to block it out. The device seemed to be reacting to his touch, as if it had been awakened from a long slumber. Ethan watched, mesmerized and terrified, as the air above the device began to shimmer. It was as if the very fabric of reality was being distorted by the device's power. He could see faint images forming in the shimmer, like glimpses of another world. Ethan knew he had stumbled upon something extraordinary, something that could change everything he thought he knew about the universe. With a deafening crack, a rift opened in the air above the device. The sound was unlike anything Ethan had ever heard, a mix of thunder and tearing metal, reverberating through the air and shaking the ground beneath his feet. It swirled and pulsed, a window into another dimension. Colors that had no name twisted and turned, creating a mesmerizing yet terrifying display. The energy emanating from the rift was palpable, making the hair on Ethan's arms stand on end. Ethan stared in awe and terror. His mind raced, trying to comprehend the impossible sight before him. He had read about such phenomena in science fiction, but seeing it in reality was a different experience altogether.
In awe and fear, this can't be real. His voice trembled as he spoke, barely audible over the cacophony of the rift. He felt a mix of fear and curiosity, a dangerous combination that kept him rooted to the spot.
The air grew cold, biting at Ethan's skin. It was as if the rift was drawing the warmth from the world around it, creating an unnatural chill that seeped into his bones. He wrapped his arms around himself, trying to fend off the cold. An unnatural wind howled from the rift, carrying with it the scent of ozone and something else. Something alien. Ethan couldn't look away. The wind seemed to whisper secrets, ancient and forbidden, that sent shivers down his spine. The rift held him captive with its terrible beauty. It was both alluring and horrifying, a paradox that drew him in even as it repelled him. He felt a strange connection to it, as if it was calling out to a part of him he didn't know existed. It called to him, beckoned him closer. He took a hesitant step forward, his hand reaching out almost involuntarily. The closer he got, the stronger the pull became, like a magnet drawing him in. But something else was emerging from the rift, something dark and sinister. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest as he watched the shadowy figure take shape. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, a creature from a nightmare brought to life. He knew he should run, but his legs refused to move, leaving him frozen in place as the darkness approached. A shadow detached itself from the swirling chaos of the rift. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness. It grew, taking a vaguely humanoid form, yet twisted and wrong. The creature was fear-given form. Fear, primal and consuming, gripped me. I wanted to run, to hide, but my feet felt rooted to the spot.
Summoning his courage, Ethan lunged toward the table. He had to turn off the device, close the rift. It was his only hope.
The creature hissed, sensing his intention. It lunged at Ethan, its clawed hand reaching for him.
Ethan threw himself to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's grasp. He scrambled towards the table, his fingers brushing the cool metal of the device.
Time seemed to slow down. The creature roared, its eyes burning with fury. It lunged again.
Ethan slammed his hand down on the device. The symbols flared brightly, then dimmed. The humming began to fade.
The creature, caught halfway through the rift, howled in frustration and pain. The rift flickered, shrinking rapidly. With a final pop, the rift slammed shut. The creature vanished, pulled back into whatever abyss it had come from.
Ethan lay on the floor, panting, staring at the spot where the creature had been. Silence descended upon the house. The only sound was Ethan's ragged breathing.
Ethan sat in the dusty room staring at the device. It was inert now, silent and cold. Had it all been a dream?
He didn't know how he had done it, but he had closed the rift. He had sent the creature back to where it came from. But where was that? And what was the strange device? Who built it? Why?
Ethan's mind raced with questions. He knew one thing for sure. He could never tell anyone about this. They wouldn't believe him. Ethan left the abandoned house, the strange device left untouched. The desert wind howled around him, but it no longer seemed so menacing.
He didn't have the answers to his questions, but he knew he would never forget this night. The universe had whispered to him, shown him a glimpse of something beyond comprehension.
Ethan walked towards the setting sun, his shadow stretching long behind him. He was no longer just a boy. He was the keeper of a secret as vast and mysterious as the universe itself.